So today we'll start off with the second session of VBA. In the previous session, we have understood what exactly is VBA. So I said it's nothing but a programming language to um, customize your Excel application or enhance your activities, what we do. So whatever the activities you do in Excel, so behind the screen, there some code gets generated. Okay, and now we want to handle that particular code, or what I want to do is I want to what do you say, customize those particular activities, or mainly like multiple activities. What we do, I want to group it as one single activity, and I want to run. So that is where generally we use this particular the macro coding, the VBA coding. So in the last class, we have understood what is VBA, and then we have understood about the Visual Basic editor. So where we saw in the code window, how do we get into a developer tab, and through the developer tab, how do we get into a Visual Basic editor. So in the Visual Basic editor, we have seen um, like we have the different windows there. So one is your Object Explorer or Project Explorer, so which just shows you whatever the Excel file that you have opened, what are the worksheets are there. So if there is any kind of a forms and modules, is the modules is the place where you will be writing the actual VBA code. Okay, so we have understood this, and then we have understood about the concept of immediate window. So in the case of immediate window is, I want to get some information about your programming members. I can say objects, any objects information you want to extract, we can put a question mark, write that object, and we can extract the info. And also dynamically you can see that changing of the variables using the watch window. We have seen with this particular thing, and then we went ahead and saw with the concept of variables. Okay, how do we declare a variables, how do we define specific data types to the variables, how do we assign the values to the variables, and then we also saw how do we read the data from the Excel into a variable. Okay, and things. And finally we saw with this concept of a message box, how to use a message box, the different optional parameters what it takes. So one parameter that is mandatory, that is the prompt. Apart from that, we have a lot of other optional parameters, like whether you want to have an icon, whether you want to have a custom buttons, or whether you want to have your own title, you can customize it. We saw with those particular things. Fine. This is what we have done. So this was the recap. Yep.
Sarika, do you have the recording of yesterday's?
Yeah, yesterday's recording. Maybe I will share it by the end of the day.
Okay, sir.
Good, you asked me. Okay, yesterday I didn't see it. Today I'll share it.
Okay, okay.
Okay,
Oh,
fine. So today we'll go ahead from where we had stopped. Thing. So we'll see with this particular concept called as a input box. Okay, fine. Yesterday we're talking about a message box. Message box is generally you want to pass on some message to the user. So might be there is an error. Okay, you want to pass an alert to the user, or it might be like what is that? Um, I want to take some input from the user. So I say, I want to tell the user, you would tell me for which department sales data you want to retrieve, or you want to see the products belonging to what category or something. I just want to take some inputs and then I want to work. Okay. So in that case, mainly we use the input box. So we'll just see like, how do we use this particular input box? How do you work with this particular input box? Fine. So the input box function helps the user to get the values from the user. So that is in the previous case we saw. So with the help of the message box, we are displaying the output to the user. Okay, some information you want to provide. It might be an error alert, it might be a warning message, or it might be just an info. We use the message box. But here you want to help the user to get the values from the user. You want to take some input from the user. We use this particular input box. After entering the values, if the user clicks on the OK button or presses then the enter key on the keyboard, the input box will function the text in the text box. So that means in the input box, we'll have some kind of a text box where the user is going to enter some text. So now this particular text, what you want to read, whether you want to have some default value or not, that is what it is trying to say. Apart from that, we'll have some kind of a button, OK, and the cancel button for this. Fine. Okay, so how do we use this particular input box? We'll look into it. Okay, So to get into this, what we'll do is, let me open an Excel. Um, okay. Let us create a new this one procedure. So that means when you are writing any macros, yesterday I was telling, so we'll be writing inside something called as a subroutine. So I'll just create a sub. I'll just say as macros. What to say, input box. Okay. So I've just created a kind of a macro here, so called as input box demo. So now you want to read some input from the users. So we use this something like this, input box. Okay, and then we say what is that you want to ask the user. So now whatever the user inputs, I want to capture. So what I will do is I'll just define some variable here. I say dim. I just say str as string. So that means I've just declared some string variable. Okay, so now I'll just say str is equal to, that means whatever we input I want to store into a container. So that is the reason I have just declared a container, and then I'm trying to make use of this particular container. So I just use the input box, and here when you look into it, I'm calling like a function. So when you use it in the bracket, that means you're calling like a function. And when you call as a function, it always returns you some value. Yeah. Okay. So
Okay.
now yeah. See, like, we are trying to ask the input from the user. See, they have two ways to call. They can just say, enter your name. So now what happens when the user reads that user is going to enter some name? Is it? See, I can give like this. Okay. When I try to run this particular macro, it says enter your name. Now, when you enter the name here, say example, I say Sadiq and say, okay. So this will work. But what happens is this name is not stored anywhere. Yeah. So now what I want is, I want to store this particular name into this particular variable str. So what I'll do, I'll just say str is equal to, okay, input box. So now I need some kind of returning the values from the input box. So when I want it to return a value, I need to call it like a function. So when I put in a parenthesis, that means you're calling like a function. Like in Excel function, every function will have parenthesis. Means every function will always return you some value. You say is equal to today, you open and close the bracket. You say is equal to sum, you open the bracket, you give some input, and then you close the bracket. So it does the arithmetic of all these things, summing of all these things returns you one value. Is it? Okay. So now it'll prompt the user to enter the name. So that name will be captured and will be stored into this particular variable str. Yeah.
Yeah. How do we run this command?
How do we run this particular command? See, so I have two subroutines here. One is a macro demo and other one is your input box demo. Now you want to run this. So there are two ways. So one is if you're in the code and you want to do a testing, so you can just keep the focus anywhere within this particular sub and end sub and just hit on this particular, you can see I'm just hitting on this particular, what you say, the green color icon, the start icon. So when you hit on this, it will run. So it says enter your name. Okay. If I just say Sadiq, so this name is entered. It has been captured into this particular str variable. So now I need to echo it back. Fine.
Okay.
Okay. What happened to quotes? Let me give a best review.
Where it is saving, Sadiq, everything?
Yeah, it is stored into this str. So can you just try with quotes?
No, maybe something is disconnected. He'll join it.
Okay, okay.
Did you try calling him?
No, man. My phone is not with me. My phone is with my son. I'm using a different phone for it. This one.
Oh,
You got.
so now you have a good net connection?
Yeah, no, my wife's phone, but only WhatsApp is connected here in my mobile. So it's the phone is not with me.
Okay.
Only WhatsApp.
I will check with him.
Mapa.
We'll see how do you use the input box. The second thing is we'll see how do you use an object explorer. So we'll see what are the different classes are there. And the third thing is we'll see like how do we interact with the Excel cells. That is, how do we focus into a particular cell? From your VBA code, how do we go access the particular cell in your Excel? So it might be a single cell, or it might be a range of cell, or it might be you want to offset a cell. So that is what we will do in this particular thing and today's session. Okay. Yeah, I think Anil has joined, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, Sadiq sir.
Hello, Anil. Good afternoon.
Hi, yeah.
Yeah, fine. We have just started.
Okay.
So we are talking about what do you do is the input box. So how do you use this particular input box and things?
Okay.
So input, see, I think yesterday we were talking something about the message box, no? Just at the end of the session. So
Correct.
generally a message box used to give some kind of information to the user. So like, when the macro is completed, you want to just say, I have done with this, or you want to give an error alert or info or warning message or something, we use the message box. Whereas the input box is used to accept some input from the user. Okay. So generally we use the input box. So it will have a kind of a box itself, a form with one text box in that, where the user is going to feed some data in that. So that data we are going to read, and then we are going to work on that. So this is mainly like, you want to make your program more dynamic by taking some input from the user and you want to work. So that is where we use the input box. Fine.
Okay.
So now we are just seeing like how do we use the input box. I just created a subroutine here called as the input box demo. So I have just declared, and then what I've done is I have declared one variable named str as string. So that means I have declared one string variable, and I'm telling here, I say string variable is equal to input box, enter your name. So that means I'm asking the user to enter the name. So that name I'm trying to capture into this, or you can have a variable itself as name. Okay. So I just say as name. Fine. So whatever the user enters the name, so I'm trying to capture here, and then I want to echo it back. I just want to display a message box. Then I want to say it as name. Cool. Okay. So that means the value is captured into this variable, and then we are trying to just display this variable. So now if I try to run this, okay, so it says enter your name. So if I just enter my name, say Sadiq, and I say okay, it has read that name, and through the message box, I'm trying to display it back. Okay. Now, Fiza, you had a question like, how do we run this particular macro? The one thing is like you'll be running through this particular thing using this particular start button. That is one way. The other way is, see, this is generally as a developer, I'll be into the code and I'll be executing even through the code itself. But once this has been created, so the end users, he'll not be seeing this code. Okay, the person who is going to use this particular macro files and things, he'll be not getting into the code. He'll be not a programmer or anything. So, but he'll be still accessing this particular programs what you have created. So in that case, what I will do is I'll just close this. So I'll go to my Excel sheet. Okay, and if I want to run this, so what I will do is I'll just go to my views, macros. So I'll just say view macros. This will show the list of macros, and you can just say which macro you want to run. So input box demo, I just select this and say run. Okay, so I just say as Fiza. So it says, so fine. Okay, Fiza.
Okay, sir, got it.
Okay, so we will be running through this or through that. So that means as an end user, you can see he's not going to get into the code or anything. He'll be accessing directly. So now if you want to access even through the shortcut key, so for this macro, we can create a shortcut key. Okay, so I'll just get into the view. So which is the macro we created now, input box demo. I want to assign a shortcut key for that. I just select this, and then so I'm just selecting this particular current macro what you have, and then we have an options. So here in the options we can customize. Okay, so when I go to this particular option, I say okay, so I just say it's Control Shift N. It's a macro for input box demo. I just say Control Shift I. Cool. I just say okay. I say fine. I'll just say if you run, it is fine. So if I say quotes, so it just says quotes. Okay, or you can just say Control Shift and I. So it will just work. Who's this calling me now? Yes, quotes. Hello.
Is there online? Course is there online?
Yeah,
Not
I'm in
calling
the
him.
class. I'll
It's not
take the call.
online. You
Oh,
can
okay.
call.
I'm not calling him.
No, this is a call from the app ticket itself.
What is this used for?
Which one?
The one what you're doing this?
See, something like this. See, in Excel, we create a macro. Okay. So generally what happens is when I create a macro, okay, and I record a macro, we have this option of giving a name to the macro, giving a shortcut key to the macro. Fine. Now I created a macro, but not through this procedure. I created a macro through this particular procedure using this particular Visual Basic, and I created this. Now Fiza was asking like, how do we run this? See, if you are a developer, you'll be running through this particular window. If you are not a developer, then you have to go here. So I need to go to the macros. It'll show the list of macros, select and then run. So now I don't want to do that particular every time selecting and running. So I want to have a shortcut key to call that. So what we did is even for the existing macro, so where you have not assigned a shortcut key or a macro which is written by the developer and you want to call using a shortcut key. So we did this. I just went to the macro, okay, selected the macro. I went to the option button and assigned a new shortcut key for it.
How about writing a code for the shortcut? Possible?
No.
Script.
Script, I'm not very sure about it.
Okay.
We generally assign it like this, I think. Okay. Fine. So that was about your okay. So now I've closed that particular what is say Visual Basic editor. I want to get into the Visual Basic editor. I'm in the developer tab. From the developer tab, as soon as I hit on this Visual Basic, it gets me to the code window. Fine. So now see, like, I'm just reading this name and just trying to echo it back. So now what I want is
Sadiq sir, before you proceed, I just want to confirm what I see here and my understanding is right.
yeah.
In this code.
Yeah.
So sub and end sub is the general how we write the codes in VBA. Then input box demo, that's the name of this, right? And dim is we are calling the declaration and name as it's as string. Yesterday we discussed that.
Yeah.
The name we are saying is an input box. What it should have is enter your name. So this input box here, I'm not sure if I understood that. Then message box name, message box is again a function, default one, right? So this part, I'm not too sure. The one is name equals to input box, and this how, this particular itself name. Yeah.
Okay. See, something like, yesterday we saw with the message box.
Correct.
MSG box. See, this
Correct.
was a predefined method which is going
Correct.
to invoke a message box. I just say hello or something. So what happens? This was just running as a hello. Okay.
Right.
Okay. Now the same like a message box is an input box. So message box is for displaying some message to the user. So here
Correct.
I cannot feed anything. I cannot give the input.
Right.
The input box, as the name says, is you want to accept some input from the user. I want to read some data from the user. We use the input box. So I say input box.
Right.
Okay. And then I just say enter your name. See, mainly input boxes, we are asking something from the user. We are inputting something from the user.
That's again predefined, is it?
Predefined, exactly like a message box, just like a message box. So now what happens is, okay, if you want to comment some lines is I want to hide from the compiler. Okay?
Correct.
I just prefix that lines of code with a single quote.
Okay.
Okay, so that means this green color, whatever is prefixed with a single quote, this is commented. That means it's not visible to the compiler. Okay,
got it. Yeah.
So now when you try to run this, so now you can see the difference is before it was a message box, it was telling hello a thing. Now
Right.
again is a message box, but in the input box, what happens? You have a prompt, a message, what has
Correct.
to be prompted to the user. Apart
Correct.
from that, we have a OK and cancel button. So in the
Hmm.
case of message box, we had only one button, OK, but we could
Correct.
customize that. Okay. And
Right.
here the other thing is we have a text box where the
Hmm.
user can feed in some data. It can be
Right.
numbers, text, or any input. So mainly used for accepting some input.
Okay. Got it,
Okay.
sir. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now you can see same like that, it is working fine. Okay, perfect, like your message box. Now
Right.
generally what happens is when you call an input, we are going to read some input from the user. See, any this one yesterday I think you had logged out early. That time, I was talking about
Right.
calling
Yeah.
a
Message
message
box.
box like a function, like a procedure. We have something like a function and procedure.
Okay.
Both are almost same. A
Okay.
small differences there in that. Okay.
Okay.
So either you talk about a function or a procedure. So they are nothing but a named block of code. Okay.
Okay.
Which
Hmm.
performs some job.
Okay.
Now, after performing a job, when it comes to a function, it returns you some output.
Okay.
Whereas a procedure, it doesn't return you any output, but some job has been done.
Okay. Uh-huh.
Okay. So mean to say is, I can say, how do we make it understand is, when I go to Excel, okay, when I go to
Hmm.
Excel, see, we have the various icons over here. Okay.
Right.
Now I have some cells I have selected.
Hmm.
Now I want to change the background of this. So what I do, I just select this range of cells. I just fill some color. Okay, what I did, I invoked this particular fill color. Okay, and I selected a particular range of cells and I gave some
Hmm.
color. So that
Hmm.
particular range of cells, it got some new color, new formatting.
Correct.
But it is not giving me back any answer.
Right.
Okay, this is nothing but a procedure. So that means
Okay.
procedure also
Hmm.
performs some job, but doesn't
Right.
give a answer back to you. Okay,
Correct.
but at the same time, I say is equal to sum.
Hmm.
Okay, and I just pass something. Fine. Now what it does is when I press enter, it'll sum up all the numbers what you've entered and gives you one output.
Correct.
Okay, so now here sum is a function, fill color is a procedure. Got it? I hope all have understood this.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the difference between a procedure and function, both perform some job, but function, it gives your answer back to you. Okay, and whereas the procedure doesn't give a back. So like in Python, okay, so we're using a def. Okay, but in some places I used a return keyword at the very end of the defs programs. I showed you some defs with the return, so there was returning. So but return was not mandatory. If I'm not using a return, so it was like a procedure. If I'm using a return, it was like a function. But in Python, they don't differentiate as a procedure and function. They have a general terminology called as a def. Okay, so which can be either a procedure or a function. Okay, this is the Python team. Okay, clear with this. So
Got
now
it, sir. Yeah.
the code what we have done here is when I say message box, it is displaying some message, but is not giving you any answer back. Okay. Now, see, like, when I say hello, it is where people are just seeing this hello, but I want the people to respond. I have something called as I want to customize the button. See, right now, what is happening is when I run this, it just we have a message box, hello, and we have an OK button. So we don't have a cancel or anything. You're going to do
Right.
one common thing to get rid of this is say OK. There is no other option.
Hmm.
Now I'll just give another option here, OK and cancel. I say is equal to VB, OK, cancel. Now you can see you can give a custom buttons here. When I say OK, cancel, so you'll get two buttons here, OK and cancel button. Fine. So when I say OK, cancel, now when I try to run this, so you can see you have this particular message box with
Right.
two buttons in that, OK
Right.
and cancel. Now
Uh-huh.
we have given the option to the user how he wants to respond for this. Here the user can either say OK or he can say it as cancel. Okay, so now if I try to run this program, so he says okay, or he might say
Correct.
cancel. But here what is happening is we are not handling how he responded. We are not handling that. I want to know how he responded. So what I do is I'll just declare some variable. Okay, so if you remember yesterday I was telling So VB is very simple programming language. If I'm not declaring a variable, still it will work.
You're
Okay.
correct.
Yeah. So I can just say some x is equal to. Okay. Quotes. I think if you remember yesterday, we declare one result as a VB MSG result box. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So now if you find it difficult, how do we declare that and all? So it's not necessary. You can just have some name is equal to this. Fine. It will also work. So that means it's a variable of, see, instead of defining that as a VB message box result or something, since I have assigned to this message box result, it will hold the output of the message box. Now you can see when I write this code, x is equal to message box, I'm getting an error here.
Okay.
Okay. You know why is this error? Now the error is because I have assigned to an equal to sign. When I assign this to an equal to sign, that means the output of this MSG box is going to return some value back. So that value back has to be captured over here. So now, since I'm calling as a value back, that means you need to use a parenthesis here. You need to call it as a function. Okay. So what I will do is to get rid of this error, I'll just say message box within the parenthesis.
Okay.
This what I'm doing here is I'm calling a message box like a function. Okay. So function means it is going to return something. So now that some information is returned into this particular variable x. Fine. So now we can see you say okay, something is returned into x. When you say cancel, something is returned into x. Now what is that something in x? I want to return back. Okay. So what I will do is I'll try to use a message box to know what was that something. Okay. And I say message box, return me x. Message box, and then what is that message has to be returned. So that I'm telling here is whatever is there in x, please return me that. Okay.
Yeah.
Now if I try to run this particular program, when I say okay, you can see it is returning as 1. That means when you say okay, so there is an inbuilt code for that telling as 1. Okay. So now if I say cancel, it is returning as 2. Clear?
Yeah.
All others, I want
Yeah.
S from all 4.
I'm not sure.
Francis and
Yep, got it.
S.
Wow, super, Ripsida.
What
First class,
happened?
really.
Francis, you're
Yeah,
supposed to
sir.
respond back to me.
Yeah. Not kind of. No, I cannot say completely. I'm kind of getting there because I don't want to say yes and proceed. That's why I'm kind of getting the hang of it. That's why.
Okay. So it is capturing. So now what is happening is the response is given in the VB style. That is 1, 2, 3. It's a behind the screen. They have some codes, like, in AppTech, they say something like ACE. They use some kind of acronyms. So where, so the customers and all, they find it very difficult to understand what is that acronyms. Okay. Every organization, they'll have some kind of codes, to understand and all this thing. Now, the similar way I can say, in the VB style, it is telling us if you say okay, it is 1. If you say cancel, it is 2. Okay, similar thing. So now what I want to do is, if it is 1, I want to say you have clicked okay. If it is 2, I want to say you have clicked cancel. So what I will do, I'll put a if. So here what I'll do is I'll use a if x is equal to 1. If the value of x is 1, then I want to say as message box. Oh, you have clicked cancel. Say okay, no? 1 is okay, is it?
Yeah, 1 is okay.
1 is okay,
And
correct.
then
Yeah.
I say else. I say MSG box. You have clicked cancel. I can just say what happened, why, and all this thing. Okay. So now what I have done here is, so we know that if it is 1, it is this. If it is not 1, it is something this. So now you can see what happens when the user says okay, fine, good, you have clicked okay. If the user says cancel, then it's oh, you have clicked cancel. Okay. If we have not come to still, okay, Anil will be doing if, but others they have done this if and all this thing in Python.
Okay.
Syntax is slightly different, but
Mhm.
if like you want to execute some statement based on a certain given condition. Clear?
Sir, I'll just confirm what I've learned. Okay, I don't want to proceed without. So,
Okay.
sir, here X is like a
Is a variable.
very
It's a container.
variable. Correct. Yeah. And then message box, it's like a predefined this thing. And then hello or VB okay cancel. That is again, I think it's predefined.
Okay, I'll just pause here. See, one thing
Okay.
is, okay. See, when I use a function,
Mm-hmm.
it is giving me a list of parameters what it takes. The first parameter is a prompt. Prompt is what is the
Correct.
message you want.
Correct.
Comma.
Correct. Okay.
Second parameter is the button. So I can just to make it simple, I can say when you write any function, I say is equal to if. Okay. So as soon as I say is equal to if, you can see here what happens. It says I need some input parameters. The
Correct.
first parameter is a logical test, comma. The second parameter is value if true, comma. The third parameter is value if false.
If false, yeah.
Similar way, how if is a built-in function. If is a built-in function, or sum is a built-in function, count is a built-in, VLOOKUP or whatever you talk is a built-in function. The same way, this MSG box also is a built-in function.
Correct.
Okay, we are using a bracket, so I'll say function. If I'm not using a bracket, it's a procedure. Okay, so when you see in the books they say as a procedure or function, don't get confused. Both are same.
Okay.
Okay, so we can call the same thing as a procedure as well as a function. Now this is the first thing. Okay.
Okay.
So, second thing is we call this as enumerated values. Okay. What is enumerated values? I'll just show you one example. I say is equal to VLOOKUPs. All I've done with VLOOKUP, no? Kisne nahi kiya VLOOKUP pe. Okay. I say is equal to VLOOKUP. In the VLOOKUP, we have first parameter is a lookup value, table array, column index. Then we have a range lookup. Now in the range lookup, what it says is, there it says, I have a predefined list of values. You can select any one of it. Okay. So when you look into this network days also, we did a similar kind of thing. So network days.intel, you want to define your own custom weekend. They had one is Sunday, two is Monday, Tuesday. For every this one, they had a list of group of values. No, we call that as enumerated values. That is predefined group of values where user can select any one of the values. Okay, so it's something like, it's like a custom data type.
Okay.
Custom data type means here first one is you're passing some value as a string. Okay, so you're passing some value as a string, but here you cannot pass the value that you wanted. Okay, you can pass the value only that is been predefined for you. Only that value set of values you can pass. Okay, so here the second option is we are selecting the number of buttons, or which buttons you wanted. Okay, so based on that we will be selecting. So that is, as soon as most of the things starts with VB, and if you want to get a IntelliSense, what you do is in this one, I just say, just use the first two characters. Since you're doing a VBA, so you just say VB and hold on the control plus space.
Okay.
Okay, so what is that we are trying to do here is, so we just click VB, then hold on the CTRL plus space bar. So as soon as you click on, after writing these first two characters, control and the space bar, it shows the list of values. You can drop down and you can select which value you want.
Got that. Okay.
Okay, I just say okay, cancel thing. Cancel or no cancel or whatever. Fine. Then you do that. So this is okay. Just like VLOOKUP, you define a predefined values. These are predefined values because you want to have group of buttons. Okay. So that values, it is returning something that we are capturing.
Got it. Okay. Got it. Yeah.
What others? Yeah. All are fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. The next thing is okay, that was about your message box. Clear? Okay. I think this was what we did after you logged out yesterday, Anil. So you have not missed anything.
Yes, probably I got blank there, but now it's clear. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think So now today we are getting into the input box. Okay. So might be like I can just say this. I can just pass on this later to you. Sub MSG box or demo.
How do you do a multi-line comment, sir?
Multi-line comment is select multiple
Select.
lines. Okay, and there is something called as a edit toolbar. So generally
Okay.
by default it is not there. So we get into the tools and then we have this particular comment toolbar. What is that?
View.
View. View. We have the comments.
Toolbars.
Toolbars.
Last में है sir.
इसमें edit toolbar है.
Okay.
इसको select कर लो बस आ जाएगा and then you select one. So uncomment is this and this is comment. And you want to have it, you can just place it with this. Okay. Now the same way, same like a message box, we are doing this. Okay, input box. Okay, we are asking the user to enter the name. Fine. So now what happens is when I run this, okay, it says enter your name, whatever the name you enter, it takes it, but it doesn't store anywhere because I don't have any kind of container. So I can have a container here telling as name is equal to, so that means that output can be stored into this. Now again, what we are trying to say here is whatever the user enters the name, we need to capture that into this variable name. But how you're calling an input box here, you're calling like a procedure. Procedure is called without the parenthesis. So that is the problem. To fix that, so what I do, I'll just use the bracket. So now you're calling like a function. That means it is going to return something. So when I say is equal to, that means right to left. Okay. So this value will go into this name. Now that name, whatever is there, I want to echo it back. I just say message box name. Okay. Whatever is there, I'm trying to. Okay. So if I give within the quotes, so what happens? It'll display as name. Same thing. It is going to be a static value. Since it's a variable, whatever the value is there, it is going to pick. Fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then let me now run this. So it says enter your name. Let me enter the name. Say okay. I just say Sadiq. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there? Now, when you look into this, here also we have the different parameters here. So what is the parameter? We have something called as a title. We have something called as a default value. Apart from that, we also have something called as X position, Y position, help file, context file, and all these things. Fine. So now what we'll do is, fine. So title is, why do you need it?
Sir, एक मिनट सर वो लिख लूँगा मैं.
अच्छा अच्छा.
Sadiq sir, when we are writing our name, so is it saved somewhere? Or
it is being stored into this particular container. Okay, this is a variable. Okay, so when you talk about saving somewhere, yeah, it will be saved in the variables. And you know the variables are in the memory, RAM. Okay, and the scope of this variable is there only till your program is running. Once you come out of the program, you will not be able to access. What I mean to say is, when you save something in your file, okay, you save it in a Word, put it as a say fisa.txt or something, so you can access it later. But here you can access only when the program is running. So since it is stored here, and then I'm trying to call that over here, or I can pass it to any this one or thing. Got it?
okay,
Got the answer?
got it.
It is stored in the containers variable, that is, I think. See, if you want, you can store into the database. You can also store into a file also and thing.
I'm done, sir. I'm done writing.
Okay, okay, fine. Okay. So now I want to have a title. See here, by default, the title is what? It says Microsoft Excel. So I don't want Microsoft Excel. I want my own company name or my, okay, some info like say, I say Sadiq training. I say I want that to be as a title. So what happens as soon as I give the title, it is showing with the title. Okay.
Right.
So when I say okay, what it does, there is an empty value which is being stored. Okay.
Right.
Okay. And other things are optional. Okay. So now this is fine. Now let us do one thing. This is clear now. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So you want to define an X position and Y positions. You can just specify this. Let me run this. See, what I did is I said 100, 100. Okay, fine. I just gave some X and Y positions. So now what is happening in this is, now see, if I'm not giving this particular positions, my message box, the input box is coming exactly in the, almost in the center of the screen. Okay.
Right.
Now I say in the center of the screen, I have some very important data. When it is prompting for some input, I want this message box to be somewhere there or somewhere, you know, I want to position it. So you want to do this position. So we use this particular X and Y coordinate to give the position, X axis
Okay.
and the Y axis from the top. Okay.
Got it.
What is default?
I'll come to the default. So that's what I thought of taking another example. And one more thing, when you observe here, इसमें last में it says as string. What do you understand from this? You have written this notes, no quotes. Okay, as string. Okay, at the end, after the brackets, you can see what is there within this is the parameters, the inputs. But as string is what type of output it is going to return. Okay, that means always the input box, whatever the data user enters, the output is written as a string value. String value. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So now let us do one thing. Let us write a program for doing addition of two numbers. That two numbers will be accepted from the user. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll comment it off. So we'll just write that program. I'll just say dim a as integer. So if you want to declare the variable in a single line, we can declare it like this: a as integer. I can just say b as integer.
Integer, no?
Yeah, integer. Oh, good. And I say C as say double. Okay, the result I'm storing into C. Fine. Now I want to store A is equal to input box and say enter first number. So I'll just capture that and I just say it as B is equal to enter second number. Fine. So we're just asking the user to enter the first and the second number, which I've captured into the variable A and B respectively. And I say, what is that? C is equal to A plus B. Okay. And then I want to know what is the answer. I'll just say message box. Now let me, okay, it's a very simple program. So what I've done is, see, we can write in a different line. If I'm writing in a different line, I need to use a dim B as integer. I say dim C as integer. You can write it in this way, or you can write it, declare it in a single line also. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. There are many ways to do a similar kind of a jobs. Okay. So I just declared this variables to hold some value, C to hold the sum of that, and trying to display the result. Now let us run this program. It'll ask for the first number, 45. Second number, if I say it as 25, it is going to be 70 here.
70.
It's showing the output. Fine. Okay. Now I'll say, I'll just say it as okay. Now, as soon as I say okay, what happens? I'm getting an error here. I'm getting an error. You know, the reason is, okay, what is happening is by default, there was nothing there. Okay. And that data, empty data is going into this particular variable A. So now if the user is not entering any value, let us have it as 0 as the default value. No, why don't we have 0 since you're doing the addition? Okay, the result will not be changed. Got it? Okay. So in that case, what I will do is, okay, see, a second parameter is the title. You want to give your own custom title, give the title. If you're not giving, put another comma in the place of default, give a default value. Okay, so I'll just, in both the cases, I'll say the default value is 0.
Okay.
Fine. Now when I run this, you can see, okay, by default 0 is there in this particular text box.
Right.
Now the user accidentally says, okay, also 0 is taken there. 0 plus 56 is going to be 56. Okay, so now you want to have some default values, you can have it, or like, you know, you are asking the user to enter the name, but the user might be thinking, what should I enter? So I can say example, say John or something, huh? So you want some kind of default values to be there, so you can just have those kind of things. Got it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir, got it.
About others?
Yep.
Yeah. I always want to have a two-way sessions, huh? Okay.
Sure.
Chalo. So that is fine. So accepting this particular input, so having a default values. So, and the next thing in this is, whatever the data you give, it is in the form of a string. Just imagine I'm not declaring this variable, because I said the previous program I wrote, I did not declare X. I did not declare X. I used it as a default. VB also, what happens is very simple, user-friendly language. I can say it's a developer-friendly language. So if I'm not declaring a variable, so we'll check whether the program will work first thing. Okay. So if I try to run this program, okay, I enter something, it is working fine. It's working, no?
Yes.
It's
You
working.
didn't do the addition.
It
Addition
it
was
didn't do the
incorrect.
addition. Yeah.
Addition was incorrect.
So it is something like I just said 56 and I said something like say 24. Okay. So 56 plus 24 is supposed to be 80. It says 56, 24. Okay. So what is happening here is the return type is what?
String plus string. It's concatenating.
It returns the output of type string. As I said, this one as string. That means the output, whatever you give the data, it always returns the output in the form of string. Even if you give the number, that numbers is given as a string.
Right.
Okay, when you give the numbers, but still that number is taken as a string. Now, before what was happening is I had declared A as integer, B as integer. So that string was implicitly converted to an integer type and then it was stored into the variable A. The conversion was happening implicitly. Okay, so behind the screen it was happening. Now, since I have not declared the containers, it is just an empty containers. So when I say if I have not declared, that means it's a variant type. Whatever the data you give, so the data types is taken according to the type of data. So now since you're reading the data from the input, the data is read in the form of a string. So A becomes string, B becomes string. When you do an addition of two string, A plus B, it is going to be AB. It is not going to be C. Fine. So how do we handle this scenario? So we can do this particular conversion using a val. So what I've done is I've used a val function. Okay. What I have done here is I have surrounded this whole thing. Into this particular function called as val. Val again is a built-in functions. Okay, I put this inside the val. Okay, so what happens? Okay, first whatever the data is there, it is going to read the data. So that data will be converted to a value type and then assigned to the variable A. So value type means it is going to be a respective integer type, or it might be a double type or whatever. So the same thing I can do here. I just say val of this particular, whatever the input you're giving, and I'm just closing it over here. So now when I try to run the same number, I say 56 plus 24, so it is going to be 80. Even till now, I have not declared the variable. Even in this case, I have not declared the variable. But what is happening? It is implicitly getting converted to an integer type, and then it is being stored.
Okay.
Okay, so this is the beauty of Visual Basic. I don't have to declare those variables and then use and all this thing. Even if I'm not declaring, it works. But okay, sometimes we need to handle this kind of things. Sure. So you understood with the default parameters, the position, and all these things. Yeah.
No, at the end it is as string. No, can't we change that as numeric or?
No.
Or is
that is a built-in function. The return type is a string value it returns. So that is why something like val is doing that job. It is converting to a value type and then working. So now let us do one thing is if I give 56.
But value type will take it as double, right?
I'll tell you. I'll answer you this one. Okay. And now you can see what is happening. I just gave some inputs. Let us give a simple value. Say 20.5 plus 12.3. So it is going to be 32.8. Okay, so it is 32 still. It is converting to an integer type. Sorry. Let me not define this. Let me run this program. I say 20.5. I say 12.3. So it is going to be 32.8.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
See, the beauty of this is, okay, when I use a val is a value type. Yeah.
Right.
Value type means it is converting to a corresponding value type. So if you have given a decimal, it is taken as a decimal. If you give an integer, it is taken as integer, and then it is working.
Right.
Okay. See, when I had declared this, okay, so it was integer. When I say 20.5, integer of that is 20. 12.3, integer of that is 12. Even if I say 20.999, integer means it will take only the integer part. It will not do a rounding also.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So value is doing a corresponding value type. Means, okay, if there is a decimal value, convert to the decimal type. Okay. If it is an integer, take an integer type. If it is a long int, convert to a long int. See, in this case, you cannot enter more than 32,700 something, no?
Yeah.
Okay. But in this case, if you enter even 50,000, still it will work.
Right.
You can see then I say thing is working. So when you had declared this, it was restricted. Oh, it is integer. I cannot go out of that boundary. So there is no restrictions here. So this is doing a dynamic activities here. Dynamically, it is taking a call based on what type of, even if you give a very long integer, even if you give a double values, it takes it. Okay. So that means it is converting to a value type. It's a good function. So that is as string. So instead of changing that as string, this is value itself is doing that. It is converting to a value type and then storing it to this. Okay.
Got it.
Got it.
One more sound I'm not getting, Francis sound. You don't want to say, is it? Francis.
Yeah, proceed. Sorry.
Hey, you cannot say yes, sir. Okay. Next is okay.
एक मिनट सर मैं ये जरा कॉपी करूंगा प्लीज.
Okay.
Done.
Okay. The next thing is so now we'll see, like, how do we access a particular cell? I'll just come to the Object Explorer. Before that, we'll see how do we select a cell, Excel cell, through VBA.
Okay.
Okay.
Because see, we have done this import and all these things, and Fiza was very much worried about, where do we store this data? Okay, I said memory. So when I say it's a memory, so that means you're not making a note in the book. So when it is in the memory, it is there only in the class time. After the class, it is gone away. So you make a note in the book, it is going to be permanent, is it? Okay. So now what I want is, I want to store this into my Excel. So where we have in Excel, we know the data is in the form of cells. Okay.
Right.
Before I could store there. So first we'll see how do we go to particular Excel cell and select a particular cell. Okay. Then we'll see how do we write later. Okay. So
I lost you there, sir. Sadiq sir, can you please repeat?
See, here it is. See, when I read the input, enter your name, the user is entering. So then what we did, we captured into the variable name. And then I said, okay, message box name or your name is this. Fine. No, I don't want like that. I want this to be data to be stored into my Excel cell.
Okay.
Okay. So now to do that, so we'll see how do we interact your VBA to Excel. That is what is going to be. So now, since here what we did is we work directly in this, like, we are asking the user enter something, and we display the output. Here there was no rule of Excel. So now I want to interact with Excel. I want to focus into Excel or select this Excel. Okay. So how do we do that? So let us remove all those things. Say no fill.
Must be tough one only.
Which one?
Entering Excel, that one. What we're doing next?
Okay. Nothing is difficult in this world.
Yeah.
Okay. Fine. I've just kept side by side. Okay. Both the screen. So let me create a new macro here. I just say sub select. I've created a new macro called as selecting a cell. Fine. Now, if I'm here, I want to select the whole Excel sheet. Okay, all the cells in this particular thing. So in that case, what we do, we just write this cells dot cell. Yeah. See now, if I want to select the complete sheet, the complete data, so what I do is I just say cells dot select. Correct?
Okay.
So now what is happening? The complete sheet, okay, will be selected when you run this particular code. Clear?
Okay.
So now I want to select a particular cell. Okay, so cells dot select is to select the entire worksheet. Okay, so I think I just returned the code. So it is to select the entire worksheet. Okay. Now I want to select a particular cell. Okay. So now what we do? So if you want to select a particular cell, I just say it as cells of cells. We can pass the parameters here. So parameters is given as a row index and the column index. Now imagine I want to select a particular cell over here. I want to select here. So that means I'm going 4 rows down and 3 columns ahead. I want to select this particular cell.
Right.
Okay. So now I say this is 3, 4.
4. Okay.
Dot select.
Okay.
Now, if I run this, what happens? Irrespective wherever your cursor is, it has got the focus here. See, let me keep the cursor somewhere randomly. Okay, or I just go down somewhere. Somewhere in the random position. Now, if I try to run this, so you can see my cursor comes there.
Right.
Okay. See, this is very, very useful. Okay. So we are just learning in a small bits and pieces. So in future, like, we will be using this particular VBA code to work with Excel data. Okay, so there'll be a lot of this one where I need to move to a particular position and capture that particular data and then work.
Right.
Okay, so now selecting is just focusing. Now I want to write something into that cell. Okay, in that case, what I do is I just say the cell, okay, with a column and this one dot value.
Okay.
I just say value is equal to, I just want to say hi. Okay, now if I try to run this code, you can see it just says hi in this particular cell. If I say 1, 1, so what happens? It will focus in A1.
Yeah.
Okay, so whatever you want to print. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so this is to pointer to a particular cell of Excel through my VBA code. So that is what we are trying to do over here. And you select is for selecting. See, this is like, values. If you remember yesterday, so the other people like, Python, we are doing this classes and thing. In almost in every programming languages, we use the concept of classes behind the screen. Okay, so now this particular cell is an object of that class. Okay, and when I say it's the object of the class, so they'll have some set of characteristics and the functionalities. Characteristics is either you assign the value or retrieve. That means nothing but the variables. So in this, cells is the object of that class, and the value is one of the property. Value is for writing something. Okay, you can have a background color. So something like, I'll just say dot. Is equal to, I just say it as VBA, right? If I run this, you can see what happens in a cell 1, 1 dot interior dot color is equal to VB red. That means this is a class which contains a collection of properties and methods. We are invoking these properties, interior color, and we are assigning a value to that. So when I assign this, so it say, okay, to this particular cell 1, 1, so it has to assign the color to VB red. So behind the screen, the VBA has created a class for this. Okay. For Anil, I think it will be new for you, classes and all these things. So yesterday I was just giving some idea of what is classes, and for others. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll discuss.
I get this though. Yeah. When maybe when I'm doing Python, you can explain it to me.
You also have Python in the later, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I got this. Yeah, I got this. Yeah.
Okay. Fine. See, again, in VB also will not be going in details of what is classes and all those things. So VB is more of an event-driven programming. But behind the screen, almost you talk about every programming languages and all those things. So they implement this built-in classes and things. So we just need to know like how it is being stored. Now, to access that particular information about the classes and all these things, so what we do is we have something called as an object explorer, object browser. So you can see all. So there is something here called as object browsers. So this will show me what all the objects are there in Excel. As soon as I hit on this, I get this window, something like this. So now, say example, I want to look for something called as a worksheet. So now you can see here, we have a class called as worksheet, range, all these are classes. Okay. And when I select this one, okay, and you can see it shows me a class worksheet. Under the class worksheet, these are the various members in that, the properties and the methods. Like if you remember, like the quotes in Francis, yesterday we were doing that person class. In that we had a method called as assign and disp, and the name and age were the properties. Name and age, we could either assign the value or retrieve the value. Whereas the disp and the assign, or display and the assign, we are calling that method and was doing some job. So now when you see this icon, they are methods. This kind of eraser type, they are method, they're going to do some job. Okay. And this kind of a thing, the hand like symbols, they are the properties. Either you can assign the value or you can retrieve the value. And we also have another thing here in VB is we have something called as the events. Events have some actions based on which the code gets executed. Fine. These are built in. We have a worksheet, we have say a range. So when you select any classes, so it just shows me what are the properties and methods that particular class is there. So all these are classes. You can see hundreds of classes are available. Okay.
Yeah. How do we know the different color codes? Now you said VB red. Is there a list where I can refer and?
Yeah. So they are okay. So in your case, there are some what you say RGB colors or what you say the popular colors are there. Red, blue, green is there. So we can see the list here. We have VB black is there, blue is there, say red is there, and then green is there. But you want to have your own custom color. Okay. In
No,
that
with
case,
men, no, it's only red, blue, green. But with ladies, no, they'll have what peach color.
what do you want to say about this, Visa?
I don't know because I don't like much colors.
You don't like
Achha,
much
wow, nice.
colors. Sure,
No, I said men.
men. Okay.
Men.
Chalo, you want to have your own custom color. We have something called as RGB. Any color in this world is made up of 3 colors: red, green,
Correct.
and blue. We have experimented this VBA and all these things. So
Correct.
So you can use this, and you can give how much portion of red you want to include, green and blue, and we can generate a color. If I say 255, 0 and 0, that means no green and red, green and blue, only red. This is going to be only red. So when I try to run this, so it is given pure red color. Instead of this, say red and green, I'm given here. Red and green is yellow.
I'm bad at mixing colors. Yeah.
So when you mix red and green, it's going to be yellow. If you mix all the 3, it is going
Black.
to be
Black.
White.
Oh.
If you mix all the 3 colors white, if everything
White.
is 0, then it is black. So I think they
Okay.
say pure white light, they pass it to the prism, you get that 7 colors, thing, something. Or they use the dynamos in our high school we have studied. They put all the VBA colors, and if you rotate that, it looks white.
Oh.
Okay, something. If I say 100% of red, I say 50% of red, and I just give some green color. I've just given a combination of this one. So you can see it gives me a color like this.
Okay.
So when I decrease the red more, okay, more of a bluish color is there. So now it should be more of a greenish color. Yeah. So something like that. Okay. So with the combination of this, so 0 to 55 to 0 to 255 into 0 to 255 into 0 to 255, you get a huge range of color ranges. This color, even you can go to the Google and just say what is the color code, and if you select an eyedropper or something, so it just gives me what is the RGB code for that. You have this particular option in any of the websites out there. You just go, just say you want a particular color, what is the RGB value, they just give, you can take and paste it also. Okay, fine. So we'll look into this coloring later. Okay. So I just was talking about the properties here. So value is one property, select is one property, and so on. Okay. So that is one way to select. So the other way is, if you remember yesterday, I was using a range.
Yes.
Yesterday I was using a range.
Yeah.
I can even select with the help of the range. Now take an example. I want to go to a particular cell, say D5. I want to go to this particular cell, D5. So what I will do is, I'll use range of D5 dot select. Let me keep somewhere. And when I run this code, we can see what happens. My focus, the selection is happening on the D5 cell.
D5.
Got it?
Right.
Yeah.
Any questions?
So far, no.
If there is no question, then I should ask the question. So we did
Please
the
go
same
ahead.
thing with the help of the cell, and we did it with the help of the range. Okay.
Right.
So I can do this. I can select this D5 cell with the help of the cells as well as with the help of the range. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Which one is better? or what kind of scenario you use a range, and what kind of scenario may you use a cells?
Range is not just one cell. I think the other one was more specifically one cell.
Okay.
Range can be more than that, I think.
Okay. See, one thing is with the help of the cell, you are moving a particular row and the column to get a position. Okay. Range is you're directly pointing to a particular position. In the case of range, we need
Correct,
to know
correct.
the name of the cell.
Yeah.
Whereas in the case of cells, we need to have the count, how many rows
Correct.
ahead or how many columns ahead, and then go to that and then pick the cell.
Correct. We chose how many number and both
Yes.
this
Exactly.
thing 3 and 4 like that.
Yeah.
I think range is better that way.
What I think
their
is
own
range
pros.
and have their own pros and cons. Like the way we were looking at index. No, not index. Yeah, index only in Excel. So from a particular point, I would want to fetch the third cell from that particular point is when we use, cells. But range only goes to that particular cell.
Okay. Yeah, something like it was not index. I think it's an offset.
Offset,
Match was
sorry,
giving
yeah.
the position, and we use a
Offset.
Offset.
Correct. Offset. Sorry.
Okay, so we can also use offset also. Okay, I'll show you that also. ये भी हो गया, cell भी हो गया ना? Cells of, I want to move for D5. So in that case, what I need to do, I need to go 5 rows down, four columns ahead. No, 5, comma 4. Is it? Sorry. 4 dot select. Both are equal now. Is it? D5 and things. So now we do also have something called as offset. So for doing the offset, we just say, where is my cursor? So you just imagine my cursor is in A1. Okay. So what I will do is I'll just go to active cell. Active cell is where your cursor is pointing. Okay, the active position. See, so you might have a question, what if I select a range of cells? Okay, like this. Now in the range of cells, now which is active cell in this range? In the selected range?
B5.
Is it B5?
Yeah, it's B5. That means the cell which accepts the data, that is the active cell. Okay. So even if you select a range, it is going to be one cell. So if I have a selection like this, now the active cell is this one. So what we say is E10. You can see the name of the cell also is being shown here. Fine. Okay. So now we are telling active cell. That means wherever your cursor is there. Okay. We can use that dot, and then I use an offset. Using the offset, I can just move. How many rows you want to offset? So now I say, if I want in the same, it is going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. If I want to go to the fifth, this one, I'll use a 4, comma. From here, I want to go to the D. This is my 0, 1, 2, 3. So I'll just say 3. So dot, and what is that you want to do? I just say I want to do a selection. Now, if I try to run this, so what happens? It has gone to the same this one. All three are doing the same job.
Right.
All three are doing the same job, selecting the same cell. Okay, but we have a different way. So in the case of cells, you can see the count starts from 1, 2, 3. It's like position. So this is like an index kind of thing. So it starts from 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, and this is you're giving a fix this one.
But active cell is from the place where the cell is, no?
From the cell where it is. Yes, exactly. So if my cursor is somewhere over here, okay, if my cursor is somewhere over here. So now if I run this particular code, so what will happen is, just imagine my position is, right now I'm over here. Okay. Now if I say 4, 3, what happens? From here, it is going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is going to be this. And then it is 0, 1, 2, 3. So it is going to select this cell. Let's check this.
Okay, so wherever the cursor is, it will point as 0.
Yeah, 0,
and then
0.
It will start.
From there, it starts.
Okay.
So offset dot, if I'm not selecting any this one, offset dot select. Okay. So now if my cursor is here, my selection will be there itself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. See, if you remember that offset function, what we studied in Excel, I want to find out what is the average sale in the last 3 months. So what I had to do, I need to use the count function or some different function and go to the sales column, the last row of the sales column, get that position. From there, I took -3 and then I did the summing and then I showed it.
Correct.
Okay, something similar to that. So irrespective wherever your cursor is there, move to that particular last row count. From there, what is the width and height you want, you can select that, and then you can even implement the summing also. But here we are going for a single cell. We can even select a range of cells also. Till here it is fine. So right now we are selecting a single cell. And the other thing is we can move in both the directions. In the case of cells and even in case of offset, I can move. So example, my cursor is here, but I want to move two, rows behind, and I say might be 5 columns ahead. So I want to select this cell. So that is -2 rows, and the columns is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so I'll just say is -2 and say 5. Okay, so now my cursor is on this yellow, this one. So now if I run this,
okay.
columns, 5 columns ahead it has moved. Okay, so now it is I need to move rows down. No, sorry. So 5 rows down, is it? 5 rows down and -2 columns. Sorry.
Right.
Column is minus, is it? I want to go behind. Yeah. So you can see from here it is 5 rows down, 2 columns behind. So if I say 2 plus 2, it is going to be somewhere over here. So you want to move rows also above. If I say -5, so we can just see, I'll just keep the cursor here. So it is going to be -2, -2, -5. So somewhere over here. So it is first is -5 rows above and 2 columns behind. I can dynamically locate the positions. Yes, Francis. I want yes from you. I'm demanding.
Proceed, sir.
Yeah?
Yeah, bro. And no. And where do we use this? I mean, it's fine, I understood, but in a real time, where do we use this kind of stuff?
Okay, yeah, I have explained
Where
you
it
about
comes.
the, okay, say example, like I have explained you about the offset function itself, no? In Excel, remember? Offset. The
I have to review.
What the very last session, when nobody was there, when you were alone, when quotes were not there.
In real time, like in data, how does this helpful?
Okay. See, something like you want to do a subtotals or a pivot table. Okay. Now, example, just imagine you want to do a pivot table. So in the pivot table, what happens? You have a source data.
Yeah.
Okay. You'll be selecting the data, and then you're going to create a pivot table based on this. Now, the data range is not going to be a fixed value. Okay. So every time, first time it might be 10 rows. The next month it might be 100 rows or 300 rows of thing. Now I want to go to a particular position. How many rows are there? Columns are there? I need to select that. And then on this data, I want to do some kind of a calculations. Okay. So that is one thing. Okay. We'll be using. Or like, you have some, say example, you have some values here and you want the result in this. Say example, value of A, value of B, then I want the result. Okay. So A has some value here, B has some value. Now I want to do the sum of this and I want to display the result over here. I want to display the sum of this result over here. So what I will do, I'll just say A is equal to some variable. A is equal to, I need to have this particular variable, or I can just say val of, what is it? Range of B2, no? Yeah. B2 dot value. So select will select, value will get me the value, and I'm converting to an integer type, storing into A, since I have not declared A. The same thing I will do for B also. So B, it is going to be B3, is it? So B3 is this. Fine.
Correct.
Now I want to say range of B5
B5.
dot value. That is, I want to write something into the, what is that? A plus B. Okay. This is one way where we are trying to read this particulars. In this case, what happens is this value is read into A, this value is read into B. The sum of this is stored into B5. B5 is nothing but this. Okay. So if I try to run this particular program, so you can see it is doing the sum, it is pointing into that, and then writing. It might be, you might be thinking like, I can do is equal to this plus this, and then why should
Right.
I go in this particular way? Okay.
That's what I'm still thinking. What's the use?
Sadiq sir, I have a question actually. I think it somewhere relates to the answer also. So in our team, when we created the quality kind of sheet to evaluate, right?
Yeah.
So on the first page, on the first sheet was the parameters. Let's say, how was the case resolved? Okay. So in that, when I enter, it will get saved to the next sheet.
Okay.
Okay. Then subsequently, so I mean, we had a team who helped us with that. So every time, whenever I enter a particular person's details score in the first sheet, I click on that. So that was macro enabled, and it will get saved to the next sheet, like one by one, row wise. I somewhere feel it's this kind of function. I don't know how exactly, but
Yes, yes,
you
yes,
know
yes, yes.
am
Yes.
I somewhere right? Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. See, what happens is that data you're writing over here, like sales one data, two data, and all this thing. But if I have to teach you now, so I need to teach you about the loops. So when we do this loop, so
Uh-huh.
what we do is with the help of this one, we get into a particular position from where you want to write. And from there, I say I want to write into this cell, this cell, this cell, this cell, this cell. So that particular values, I want to push it from
Correct.
one to this. So that is where. I think Francis, you got this answer for you?
That's what you stopped there. You said when Excel can do this, you said why we have to do in VBA. After that, you didn't proceed.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
what
yeah.
I will answer.
Okay, because honestly, I'm not able to relate to my workstation work. That is why.
Okay,
Okay.
okay. See, what happens is, see, right now we are trying to learn about how do we focus a particular cell, or how do we
Yeah, that I
get the
understood.
value
How
of
do we
that particular cell.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Now, see, when you want to do any kind of a calculation, okay, so now first I need to search where the data is. Based on that particular criteria, I'll focus there. So to get this, I might have to even use the if conditions to go to a particular location and then get that particular value. So sometimes it might be like, you want to pull the data from multiple sheets. So, okay, so I need to go to that sheet, this sheet, get this value, get this values, and then I need to sum it up, and then I want to display the result. Okay. So in that case, this is going to be useful. The other thing is when the data is very large, you have thousands of rows. Now you want to find a particular cell and then go. So in one sheet, you need to go some 5,000 rows down and then go there, focus that, then get the value. Then again, go to another sheet, go to that particular location, focus that, get that value, then do the addition. So I can have a pre-coded in the longer run. So when the data is very complex, that time you will find there is a real advantage of using this particular codes.
Okay.
Okay. See, right now we are just seeing how do we highlight a particular cell. So there are a lot of things to learn in this particular thing. How do we highlight a contiguous cells? How do we highlight, a range of cells, a broken range of cells? How do we select the entire row or an entire column? So now I want to go to a data where it contains the data and just before an empty row I want to get. So there might be like, in a single sheet, we'll have two tables. Already there is an empty row. Before the empty row, I want to select, or see, there is also things like, when you want to do a subtotals and things, we have a lot of data. In between, you have an empty row. Okay. When you say Control A and do it, it'll take only the first portion of it. Second portion will be not taken into consideration for the subtotals. So now in that case, what we need to do is I need to explicitly go down wherever the empty row is there, delete that. Okay. So now just imagine the data you have received the data from the external sources where the data is not organized. They have empty rows and columns and things. We need to go and remove this particular empty rows and columns to ensure that the data is in the proper organized this one. So in that case, we need to move around to find out where is that empty row and then delete that particular rows, delete that columns, make it as one range, and then work on that. So in that case, this moving around, focusing and all is going to be useful.
Okay.
Okay.
Francis, if I can suggest, now it's all scattered in bits and pieces. Now, if we learn these bits and pieces, when we put together everything, then it will make sense to us.
Okay. Okay.
Because if you ask me, I will not be able to explain you with regards to your work. Nobody can do that. You're the master of your work. You will be able to analyze the thing, how you can use these bits and pieces, how can I bring it together and use it for my work. General examples can be given, but these are all bits and pieces. I'm sure when we learn all these bits and pieces, we can put it all together and then we'll understand how we can actually execute this. This is just the first step, that's all.
Okay.
Okay. The next thing is fine. Now what we do is, okay, we have seen how do we select. So we have different ways. One was using a cell, the other one using the range. And also we saw with the help of the offset.
Offset, yeah.
Okay. Offset is dynamically wherever your cursor is there, from there you're relocating. So in the case of cell, we specify how much row position and the column position, and then you are selecting. And with the help of the range, we are selecting for a particular cell, okay, based on the name, which was given as a string. Okay. Now, the next thing is, we'll see how do we select a contiguous range of cells. Contiguous means a range of cells. Okay. It might be vertical, horizontal, or it might be a group of data. So on which you want to do some kind of a summarizations. Fine. So now, okay, when you see here a range of A1 to E8 dot select. So I just written this. I've used a colon here. Okay. So now what this will do is, so I'll comment this. Range of A1 to say D8 dot select. So now when I try to run this particular code, you can see what is happening here. I just wrote this code and executed this code. So it has selected from A1 to D8. The complete range is been selected.
A1 to D8.
Yeah. See, we use this in the summing also. No, we say is equal to sum of this range of things. We just do that. So that means, like, you want to select. Okay. So we give the start position and the end position. In between, you use a colon. If I'm using a range. Okay.
Range.
This is your. See, till now we saw was how do we select a particular cell, a single cell. Okay. Now it is a range of cell. Now, say example, this range of cell, you want to change the color. The same code can be written interior dot color is equal to say VB green. So what it does, the range of cells will be filled into color, or I just say dot value is equal to say something like say 100. Or if you put a loop, we can have a random numbers and all this thing. Fine. I can just run this. It just fills the value. So you can do anything with this ranges. Okay. Before I was doing with a single cell. Now I'm doing with a range of cells. Okay. So
Yeah.
that is one way.
So we can also fill the series from 1 to 10 into complete rows.
Yes. Okay. So you have to do that when I do with the loops. After I do the loops, we need to do some kind of those kind of exercises. Okay.
Okay.
Fine. So that is one way. The second thing is selecting this particular contiguous range. So using the cells, range and the cell. Now when I say cell of 1 comma 1, so this is nothing but pointing to A1. And then if I say cells of 5 comma 7, 5 is going to be A, B, C, D, E, and then it is E7. Okay. So we can use in this particular way also. Okay. So I'll do one thing.
It is rows comma columns, no sir? Cells, rows comma columns, no?
Cells of row comma column, row and
So
column.
5 comma 7 is E. It's not E, no? Then it is fifth row A B
Fifth
C
row,
D E F G. G, no?
yes, G, yes. So yeah, it is row comma column. So fifth row, seventh column. So this is going to be something. I'll just remove all this.
E5.
Yeah. I can make it like this. So if I try to run this, it is selecting from A to
Sorry, G.
G. So like you want to create a chart, first we select the data, is it? So we need to know which is the data. So based on which you need to select, and then okay. I think so. Like today you had sent that in the WhatsApp group, some data is there. First we need to select where the data is, from which range to which range it is. Okay. See, this is again a static value. So there you need to look more for dynamic. So I come to how do we get into a dynamic. So as of now, this is the static. So this was single cell. This is the range of cells. So now in this case, what we have done is we have taken the help of both range as well as the cell. So when I use this particular range, okay, so we need to specify this particular start and end with a colon. Or if I'm taking with the help of this one, I'll just say this is the start of the range, this is the end of the range. End of the range selection, or it might be value, whatever it is. So we say where you want to start A1, so ending with G7. Clear?
Sadiq sir, Anil here. I'm sorry, but I have a bit of network issue here, so it's on and off.
Okay.
If you can, or maybe anybody can help me understand the last just now what we did. Why we doing range and cell together? I didn't get that very well.
Yeah, I'll just explain. I think, see, what is happening is, see, in this case, range, we are just giving the start to end with a colon, something like how we used in the case of some average functions, what we did. So with the help of the range, we are using this particular start and the end with the help of the cells.
Oh, okay.
With the help of the cells, what happens dynamically, you can just look at how many rows down, how many rows, columns ahead. From there, you want to pick, and then from there, okay, where you want to end, you can define that.
Right.
Okay. And one more thing is, in VBA, the developers, okay, they consider rows as 1, 2, 3, and the columns also as 1, 2, 3. That is how the developers refer this particular Excel sheet. See, now this is not the developer's view. It is like columns we identified with the alphabets A, B, C, D, and rows we identified with the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Now here let us get into how do we change to the developers this one. So I'll just go to the file options. So there we have something called as a formula. Okay, so I just went to what you say is Excel options. In the Excel option, I just went to what you call it as formulas. Under formulas, you can see we have something called as R1C1 reference type. Okay, so that is row numbers and the column numbers reference type. So if this is unchecked now, I'll just check this and I say okay. You can see the difference.
Yeah.
So what is the difference here? So now columns are also is 1, 2, 3.
Correct.
Yeah. So before only rows were 1, 2, 3, the columns
Yeah.
also we refer as 1, 2, 3. Now how the cell name is referred here? So when you refer to any cell, you can see how the cell name is given. So here it says you're in the 4 rows down and the 4 columns ahead. So R4, C4. So if I focus over here somewhere, okay. So now it says you are 3 columns down and 7 columns ahead. So it is R3C7. This is how the developers they refer. So in this, what happens, you can easily move around. Okay, it's something like, when it is numbers, 2 plus 1 or 2 plus 5, I want to go 5 columns ahead. When it is numbers, I can easily move. But when it is alphabets, we will not be able to move so freely.
Yeah, agree.
Okay, so that is how the styles of R1C1 style and thing. So now let us take an example. I have some numbers here. I want to do the sum of this. I just say is equal to sum of this. You can see formula also how it has been referred.
Yeah, it's so different.
This is how the VBA people will be working with. So R minus 5. That means from the active cell, okay, go 5 rows above. Minus 5 rows above C. That means I have not given any number. The C same column. No changes in the column. Then this is the ending range. Ending range we are telling is this. So that is from the same active cell, 2 rows above in the same column.
Okay.
Okay. Just imagine I want to do it over here. I just say is equal to sum of the same range. So now what happens here is from the active this one, I say go 5 rows above C minus 2. You can see C minus 2. That means 2 columns.
Minus 2 column. Okay.
So it is going to focus this cell. And then when you look into this particular thing, R minus 2, C minus 2. That means 2 rows behind, 2 columns above. That is this. So this is how we define the ranges. Okay. Got it?
Yeah, yeah.
So, sir, when we have R1C1, we will not be able to type A1 is to C4 or something like that, right?
No, when it is an R1C1 style, so no, I just say it's equal to A1. It doesn't know what is A1 now.
Yeah.
Because we change the reference.
Okay, so if at all an Excel sheet is filled with formulas and we select R1C1, it will automatically convert everything to R1C1.
Yeah, if you have written the traditional formulas and when you convert to R1C1 style, your traditional formulas will be converted to R1C1 style.
Vice versa, true.
Yeah, vice versa also. And now if I change this to options, formulas. R1C1, I'm just removing it off. So I just say old names is A. Okay, it is asking for what is A1 then.
Correct.
Okay, so I think I'll just cancel this. So but you can see this. No, it does not change because of that. I say formula. I remove this R1C1 style. I say okay. So now you can see. Yeah. You can see here. It has come back to the normal one.
Right.
Vice versa, it happens automatically.
We are more used to seeing this, I think, more than the other one. That looked little complicated, but I'm sure, when you do more of that, it's easier. But for me right now, this looks more simpler.
This is like,
for all of us, it's
using this almost from more than a decade, no?
Yeah.
You're used to this more than a decade. Now, if I tell you to suddenly have a change, you'll not be accepting ready for that particular change.
But
if
you're
I say
saying
that change is going to fetch a lot of things, you have a lot of better things you can do, but still it takes time, okay, to accept the changes. But if you want to do a VBA codes and all these things, so we need to change the way we think. How do we move around?
That sounds like you have to change. Okay. Got it. Yeah.
Okay. Any questions for today?
Yeah. No, sir.
Yeah, Francis.
No, I am clear.
You're clear. Okay. Fiza?
No, sir. I need to go through the first session, yesterday's.
Yesterday's session. Oh, okay, I'll send it by today.
Sadiq sir, Anil here. I would request you to, if we can have this, because today also there was little network disturbance and all of that. So if I listen to it again, maybe my knowledge,
Okay.
it can be better, I feel. So at this
Uh,
stage, at least initial stages,
yeah.
that would help if you can send
I have
yesterday's and
recorded this
today's both.
particular session also. Both
Okay.
I'll send it by the end of the day.
Okay, cool.
Okay,
That should
because
be
I
fine.
have another
Yeah.
class after this, and
Okay.
Aptic people also calling, and we have some calls.
Sure,
and
sure.
all.
Yeah.
So
By
today,
today, then, if I can go through it tomorrow, I'll be in a better this thing to take.
but you
Yeah.
start the work now, and you end up midnight, no?
Yeah,
Your
like
office time.
1:32, like that. Yeah.
But
And
still,
moreover, when you work from home, I feel it's like, I don't know, there is need for more calls. In office, you just go to the person and speak.
okay.
Yeah, go to their desk. But at home, it's like you have to call them, you have to schedule a meeting. I feel there is more work for me at least. So, yeah. But it's okay. It's going on. Yeah.
Okay, fine. So you'll be back to office after 15th, or how's it?
Well, sir, the situation is not very, we can't be certain. So
Okay.
it may extend
Okay.
mostly is what I feel. Yeah.
As per today's papers, they're telling it will not.
It'll not extend. Okay.
That's
I
what they
mean,
say.
But I
it's
don't know about
not
IT.
predictable, no?
Yeah.
Yeah.